Hello, I'm Sammy, and this is my channel, Love is the Answer. I created it for two reasons. Firstly, I felt I needed to promote my book, The Key, which I'm hoping will be published in time for Christmas. And secondly, I created this channel because I wanted to discuss aspects of a spiritual awakening. Over time, I've watched and listened and learned a lot about myself, and I've come to see my purpose as a messenger of love. This may take various forms, from my writing, sharing my messages on this channel, or balancing energy through massage, or to the simplest or most fundamental mode of just choosing to strive to live my life with love in my heart. And let me add that this choice of being is probably the most significant and, to me, the most important aspect, because although I may discover wisdom, to live by it is the key. We can know and learn information, but if we only store it without putting it into practice, then it isn't really very useful. So striving to live the messages I share is the most impactful part of the messages. At least that's what I believe. So recently my daughter and I travelled over 5,000 kilometres to visit my family. We chose to drive. It was a big journey with 3 days of travel to reach our first destination. For this journey we travelled in my 2009 Honda Civic. It was serviced and ready for the trip, and I put my trust in the universe to get us and the car to our destinations safely. The only concern I had for the travel were really kangaroos. I knew if we were to hit a kangaroo travelling at around 100 kilometres an hour, the chances of the car and the kangaroo being okay were highly unlikely. So I eliminated the greatest opportunity for this to happen by not travelling in the dark. Now, before we went away, I had this epiphany one day that I believe was a realisation regarding life, specifically to do with flowing with life instead of trying to control life, which is always resistance. So on the day of my epiphany, I was driving and a bird flew in front of my car screen, travelling in the same direction as me. It was then I realised this. Everything in life deserves to live, and in life we all have choices that we make in every moment, often unconsciously, and some we think about. In between the thinking, choices or more choices are made without thought, but that's probably another topic for another day. But consider this. When driving, often we may be rushing. We could be running late. We fill our lives and create, by our own doing, a hectic environment. And if on our travels someone were to crash into our car, we would most likely become annoyed and maybe even angry. If someone were to get hurt in the accident, we would likely begin to blame. Well, I realised that there would be no accidents and no close calls with wildlife, birds, bandicoots, or anything other if we all flowed in our life. Yes, that is not really going to happen due to the varying levels of consciousness and many other factors, but we can take responsibility for our own interactions by slowing down and creating balance in ourselves. Then, when we drive our cars in a world where we share with creatures that have every right to live as we do, then there are no near misses or worse fatalities. I realised the times I've nearly collided with birds are when I was either driving too fast or my mind was not present, and instead I was focused on being late or worrying about something that, in retrospect, was completely irrelevant and merely a waste of time, thought, and energy. About a year ago, I hit a bird while rushing for an appointment. I felt very sad and guilty because I knew then that it was my fault. I was rushing. I told a person that I met at the appointment afterwards that I'd killed the bird, or at least hit it, and they said that was a bad omen. Now looking back, I can see how it could have been. When we are not flowing in life, triggers are offered to us to make us either become aware or consider. If we overlook the lesson, then the lesson or trigger will repeat, but in a greater capacity, to make it even more obvious to us. So had I not taken responsibility for my actions and then chosen to do something about that, then who knows what could have eventuated. I don't live in fear though, so there's no purpose for me to focus my attention on that. The point is, I realised if I wasn't speeding, the bird would not have hit my car, because I would not have been there. Anyway, maybe the bird also has some accountability too, but I'm not the bird. I had to look at it from my perspective. Birds have been, and still are today, used as messengers to me, as if my guides and angels or my higher self triggers me into awareness by their presence. So on our recent travel, I asked my guides and angels to protect us all, both Rafi and I, our car, and the animals along our journey. I didn't want to hurt any living creatures, not even a butterfly. I noticed every time that if birds appeared, that when I would look at my speedo, it was either creeping up or I was certainly going a little over what I should be. In every instance, I thanked the universe for this guidance and would slow down. On our journey, we saw many dead kangaroos on the roads, and some were the size of monsters. I always asked for protection for the kangaroos that would be near me as I travelled, and for my car and Rafi and I. As the trip continued, my faith replaced any worry. If I felt a dubious, doubtful thought arise, I felt my faith replace it. I often felt tingles of gratitude. So since then, I realised completely about the theory of balance, to live and let live. I certainly don't want to contribute to unnecessary, untimely injuries or death of other living creatures. And yes, this may mean I need to expand my thoughts on this, but when I get in my car or my bike or travelling out and about, then I should be present and not worrying, and certainly not speeding. It's so obvious to me. When we flow in life and lead with love, then love flows. My choice to strive to be the best version of myself means I have to be conscious of myself, my thoughts, my words, my actions. I'm not perfect by any means. I am aware also of where I need to improve. I'm also a work in progress, and I'm happy with that, because this life, this world we live in, is truly beautiful. I choose to pay attention to the amazingness of life and nature, rather than dwell on parts that are out of my control and create negative mindsets. I believe this life is to be enjoyed by living it to the best of our abilities and not remaining stuck in the past, where regret and sadness like to consume us, or live in our heads with worry about the future. Life is only ever now. 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 Enjoy this life right now. Move away from the painful memories of the past. Don't waste time on the future. Live your best life now. Your dreams manifest through feelings and thoughts. So be grateful, stand in the sunshine or the rain, or stare at the stars. Appreciate what you can see. Listen for the sounds of nature. Even in a city, a bird can be heard. Listen and appreciate. Maybe it's the sound of the breath of Mother Nature, swishing through the leaves of a tree. There's always the perfect sound or sight or smell of life, waiting to be noticed. Breathe in love when you next inhale. Life is truly magical, and love is the answer. Thank you for listening.